Okay, today we're gonna talk a little bit about how to set up a honeypot on Azure. So Azure is just picked by me because I have already access to it and it's easy. Of course, you could do that the same way with AWS or Google Cloud or Oracle Cloud or in your own data center, wherever you would like to set it up. So I'm not gonna lose too much time to talk about what is a honeypot because I assume if you searched for how to set up a honeypot, you already know why you would want to set up one. Mostly it's because you want to do some cybersecurity research and learn about new techniques of attackers or new attack vectors, or other than that, you might use it as a additional layer of defense, wherein you attract the attackers to first go for the honeypot so you can detect what might be missed by your firewall, your IDS, your IPS, your various security implementations that you have in your environment. And another one is just to simply be updated on what's the latest security trends and how to handle them. So I've chosen T-POT just simply for a reason of being fairly straightforward to set up, relatively easy, also well maintained and documented. It was first created by the guys of T-Mobile Telecom, so Deutsche Telekom, sorry, Deutsche Telekom in Germany, obviously. So yeah, that's pretty much about the honeypot. So this is the GitHub page where we would get it later. We will see that later in the next steps. Having said so, let's go right here over to Azure on the subscription. Let's create. So we are in the subscription page of Azure. You can get access to this by either just simply signing up for a free trial as a pay-as-you-go model, or by having maybe a paid Visual Studio subscription, which comes with $150 free credits every month, which is actually enough to run a honeypot like the one I'm setting up now for 24/7. So this is also a good option. And then let's just simply create our virtual machine now. We go here, we go resources, we're gonna choose Debian 10, and then raster image. We're gonna go here. So there we go. We say create. Here I already pre-filled my subscription. I call it VPN subscription. Don't get confused. It's still gonna be for this particular setup. So we call the honeypot tip resource group. Let's call it T-POT RG. Might call it anything that you like, so it doesn't really matter. The virtual machine, we call it T-POT. We pick the Southeast Asia region, which is closest to where I'm currently located, so that's easy. We don't need any infrastructure redundancy for this tutorial, obviously, so we're gonna choose the password setup here. For your own safety, I suggest you use the keys, but to make it easy and fast, we're just gonna use the password-based one. We call the user T-POT user, and then we put the password in here. Sorry. That's the password. We allow the selected port SSH. We will need that later on. We go to the next one. So premium SSD, you leave it as this. I'll just create another one here, and that will be not needed for that size. We'll just use 128 gig for here to save money as well, and that will be good enough. Then we go to the next, the networking tab, which we just use as the default as it is described here, and it will assign a public IP, which is important. We will need that, of course. Basic, we leave it, and we allow import SSH, also very important. Next, we go to management. We're just gonna disable the auto shutdown feature of Azure here, of course, because we want it to be on 24/7. You can configure that later if you require that. And then that's it. Do a quick review. Validation passed. And once this is done, we click create, and then we'll just wait for the creation, which takes about a minute or something like that. And there we go. The deployment is complete. So the next step now will be we go to the resource, because we will require the IP address to access it via SSH. So now that we have copied the IP address, we're gonna open it. Any SSH tool, you can use PuTTY, SecureCRT. I use Mobile Xterm. We're gonna create a new session here. It's an SSH session. We're gonna uh, paste the IP. We're gonna go here and create a new one, and we call this T-POT. The username is T-POT user that we provided earlier, right, in the installation process, and then the password that we decided to give, and then we say okay. We select, we say specify username. We're gonna use the T-POT user here, and this is good to go. And as you see, auto login, we are now logged in. So having said this, this is as good as it gets at the moment. Now we'll run the usual. We run sudo apt update. It will update the. Then we run sudo apt upgrade -y as the next step. This will also not take too long. And once this is completed, we're gonna be ready to actually clone the repository from GitHub. But first we need to install Git. Since this is a bare image of Debian, it will not be there yet. So let's give this a couple of seconds to complete. Almost done. There we go. Now we are going ahead and installing Git. Sorry, typo. See, hackers are not always typing it right. There we go. We installed Git, which is anyway one of the first things you should always do. Easy way to get some additional software. So there we go. We are done with this. Now we're gonna just simply copy and paste the command, which is sudo git clone, and then we clone the T-POT repository from GitHub. There we go. And that's this done. And the simple next step is just simply we execute the install script, which then will run for quite a while, depending on the power that you give the machine. So sudo then I think it's installer. No, sorry, it's ISO installer and then install.sh. Always typing wrong today. And that's pretty much it. And we specify the type as equals user. And then we'll let this run. Now this will run quite a while, so I'll be back once this is finished. So as you can see, we have arrived at this certain step now, and we'll just confirm this with yes, and then we go through the configuration of what we wanna configure. We choose the standard for the sake of this tutorial, and then we give it a certain username. So we call this T-POT web. This will be, sorry, T-POT web. This will be used to log into the web interface later with the admin user for logging into the web interface. So this is important. Keep it. We put a password here. Again, twice. Again, and now it will be starting with the complete pull of everything that it needs and install all the services. This will again take a little bit, so I'll be back once this is completed. And as we can see, the cleanup was complete and it's now rebooting. And while we're waiting for it to reboot, in the meantime, we can make a few modifications on the rules of the VM. So for this, we just simply follow a few simple steps. So we go to the networking tab. Sorry, of the VM. So we go back here. We choose the VM. We go to the networking tab. As it is here. And then, as you can see, there's these settings that we have originally, and then what we will need is more or less a couple of rules. So the SSH will leave it as is, right? Normally, what you would do is you would use your public IP only. So you reduce the access to this from your public IP to SSH. Only for now, I just leave it at that for making it easier. The same is true for the web rule. So we create a new inbound rule. We call that in this case bot web, and then source we leave it as any for the sake of this. Destination will be uh, any. Service will be basically HTTP. Well, actually, what we can do is if you look at the setup here, right? So we'll leave the source, the protocol is TCP, we leave this as is, and the destination port we just copy and paste from here. Sorry, this is still rebooting. Priority we can leave it as this, then this we can just call it port, whatever it is, and we say add. Takes a while to pop up here. And then the last one that we're gonna create is the, sorry, again I put the wrong one in here. So the last one is gonna be allow ports. There it is. So next one. Source again any. This is now for the actual honeypot functionality, right? So destination port ranges, we'll add this. This is okay. We want this. We want this to be exposed. That's the purpose. We again call it TCP and again call it T-POT ports. As you can see, you get a lot of warnings, and normally you wouldn't do that, obviously, right? But for our case, that's actually intended. We say okay with this as well, and wait for this to generate the rule, which again takes a couple of seconds. And then the next step, that's this done. And now the next step will be we go to the machine again. Okay. Now the next step that we're gonna do is just simply go to the IP address. We've copied before, and to the particular port that we've just allowed, 297. And well, as a first step, usually you will get the warning that it's of course unsecure because it's not a valid certificate. So now you just put in the username and password that we created earlier. So we called this T-POT web. And this was the password, and there we go, we're on the cockpit now. So now what we could do, we could just simply go to Banner, which will load the Elasticsearch. Again, if you have chosen less than 8 gig RAM, this will not work. It requires a minimum of 8 gig RAM. And then we go to the T-POT dashboard. And we already see the incoming attacks. So basically, this is as simple as it is to set up a honeypot on Azure using T-POT. And as you can see, this will populate quite fast. And you go back, there's different dashboards that you could actually utilize. So this will obviously now not have much data because we just started, right? But the individual dashboards will populate once there is enough data coming in. Wait an hour or something like that, but on the overview you already see data coming in. You can already see honey trap attacks, cowrie attacks. There's a lot of attacks already coming in. Let this run for 24 hours and it will be a treasure trove of learning for you guys. Pretty much it. Thanks for watching today. If you have any questions, just leave me a message in the comments below or just ping me otherwise. Thank you very much. Take care.